Hi everyone, just wanted to let you know that I recently started a Kickstarter for the physical copy of Mysteries of Dysteria Volume 1. It's been fulfilled now, which is awesome, but if you would still like to donate, you can get different things depending on how much you donate, including a signed copy of the book. Think of it as sort of pre-ordering it, if you will. You can message me on there if you have any questions, and I also made a video talking about the behind the scenes stuff about the comic, so I'd recommend to check that out if you're interested. Hello everybody, it's your non-binary pal Gracious E.V.A here, and this year I did Arfight, a collaborative event where people draw each other's characters and gain points. I've done this back in 2022 and 2023, and those were super fun, and so was this one. This year I made the most amount of attacks, but before we cover those, I want to share some of the attacks that I got, or I guess defenses. This first one is on my character Tomoe by by the way, I'm not going to say any of these usernames right, but by Crescent. And this is super cool. I love how they drew Tomoe in the snow. That's a really cool way of drawing that. Like, it fits their edgy edgelord vibe very well. Broken samurai in the snow. I love that a lot. And the way they drew their anatomy and stuff is also really cool. I really like this one, and I actually drew a revenge for this one, and that has a little bit of a funny story to it, but I'll get into that later. This next one is of my character Haiku by Lish_Leshy, who this one was actually a revenge for attack I did for their character, and I love this one as well. They drew her with her hair down, which I thought was really interesting. I love that. I don't draw Haiku with her hair down much because in the comic it's always up, but I do like the decision of having it down. I think that looks really neat. I like how they drew the wings, like very stylized, but still got that see-through element, and the fire looks really cool. I love the lighting that's cast onto her. It's very cool. I love this one. This one's very neat. Fun fact, in like some of my past Arfight years, Haiku was one of the ones that got drawn a lot, or got attacked a lot. That and my character Hope, who is actually up next. This is by Clockwork, who's actually a viewer of the channel, and yeah, this looks really cool. I like how they kind of drew her in a cityscape similar to an artwork I did of her, and yeah, they included all the little details, including that little scar on her leg. I thought that was really cool. I like the way they drew the eyes, having the little eyelash part being the same colors or like darker colors as the eyes underneath them. I think that's really cool, and yeah, I like the pose a lot. This is really neat. I like it a lot. Next up is my character Leo by Lone Shy, which was also a revenge. And look at how freaking tiny and small they drew them. It's so adorable. I think they even said in the description, sorry for the mistakes if anything, and they don't draw people, but they're so cute. Look at them. They're so small. I love them. They even drew like the little eye bags a little bit with the gray lines underneath. I like this one. They're very cute. Next up is actually 3 characters. This one went out of their way to draw 3 of my characters. By K3 Riska, we have Masaki, Silver, and Chris. I really like how they drew all of them. The absolute insanity to even attempt to try to draw 3 characters in one attack. But I really appreciate it. I like how they drew all of them. And yeah, it's funny that they did Silver and Chris too, because they're demon and angel. That's kind of funny. But yeah, I really like this one too. I like the interactions. It's cute. Next up, we have Silver again by its_pact. I like this one a lot. They did a good job on the details The wings and halo and look nice, and they even included the eye on their suit. I like that. That's nice. Very nice. And then this one was another revenge one that was revenging for another attack I did by Chester TCJ7, and it is of Kaichi. I really like this one. I love that they drew him in the rain, because that makes a lot of sense. I even included in his description that his magi is called the Healing Rain magi. And yeah, I love how they drew the gradient in his hair. I'm just now noticing that actually the gradient in his hair is super cool. I love the texture. I love me a good texture. And they drew his eyes like very fittingly like tired, a little older. Yeah, I really love this one. This one was one of the later ones I got. And then the final one was of my character Rin. So a lot of attacks for Hayaku's Magical World, basically all of the main cast of Hayaku's Magical World was attacked, I think, and was by Spaghetti Like. I really like this one. I apologize for you having to draw all of those details on her coat. I'm sure you hand drew those. I use a brush to draw those, and so I apologize for you having to draw all those details, but you did great. And they even included the scar on her face and her using some powers. Yeah, this one was really cool, and they even drew the spear, which is nice. Yeah, this one was kind of a surprise attack. They caught me off guard with this one. Yeah, I really like this one too. All of them were super cool, and I loved receiving all of them. Yeah, if any one of you are watching this video, thank you so much. This was a great Arfight year. Now with that out of the way, let's go on to some of the attacks that I created. This character's name is Carly and is by Lish_Lishy. So this was the artwork that they were revenging for. I thought this design was super cute and simple, and that it would be a fantastic design to start Arfight with, because there wasn't like super I don't believe there was too much detail on this character. I decided to just kind of draw them in a bust shot similar to the reference photo that was given, and this one was really fun. I focused a lot on the line art for this one, extra hatching for extra fun, and for the little bow tie around their blouse. I think it's blouse. This is a technique I've actually been using for a lot of my artworks. Is to just use. There's like a feature in Clip Studio Paint at EX. I don't know if it's available in the Pro version, but basically where you can create an outline of whatever you're drawing, so it'll automatically create an outline of a certain thing. So if you just blocked it out, it would have the line art basically already there, and this look works great with the line art brush I typically use. So that's what I've been using a lot for details like the bow, where I just don't want to bother having to just line it out. I just block it in with that feature. Yeah, color picking this was a bit tricky because the artist used a lot of like orangier colors, which looked super nice in the reference picture, but for some reason I was having a hard time like getting that to look right on the base colors. I think it turned out good, and then obviously with the rendering it ends up looking a lot better. And the eyes were fun to draw. That is a plus to getting to do more close-up shots like this, which I don't normally do because I do struggle with closer up shots than further away, is getting to render eyes as detailed as I would like. And I even included, I think, a couple of details that were in the original reference in the eyes. And then for the background, I just used some decoration brushes that were very plant-like, and used one for like a little frame effect. And yeah, that was it for this first one. I thought it was a good start to the Arfight year. And I do like the rendering on this one. It's very golden. I like gold rendering of that. That's fun. This next one is Gaiyun by Lone Shy. This was the other one. This is another one that they revenged for. And it's a Steven Universe character, specifically what looks like a Lapis Lazuli type character. Again, I don't believe there was too much information on this one other than the reference picture. But seeing as it was, they were in the same body shape as a Lapis and even had the wings, I assumed this is a Lapis type gem of some sort. But yeah, this one was I really wanted to do because I had not drawn anything Steven Universe related in years. If you've seen my video talking about me redesigning some of my old Steven Universe characters, you'll know that I was in that fandom for a long time and even tried making a fan comic for it. But yeah, I never have really made any fan art besides my own Steven Universe fan characters before. But I thought this would be a good chance to draw someone else's fan character. However, because it is a Lapis, I did have to draw a lot of water, which I'm not a fan of. But I had since drawing some water stuff, have gathered more brushes to make shading water easier, so it wasn't too much of a hassle. Unfortunately though, if you're watching the speed paint, you might be wondering what happened to the line art and coloring footage. I never recorded those. Whoops. It's okay. It's the same process as most of my other stuff, and you get to see the rendering, and I know you might prefer me watching me do the rendering instead. So here you go. Here's the rendering. Yeah, for this one, it was a very monochromatic piece with blue for shading, blue for lights, and a lot of my attacks actually ended up being pretty monochromatic. With the color rendering. But yeah, once I was done with the rendering, I went on to the background, which I made more of like a starry landscape and them sitting in a pond of water, similar to what we've seen Lapis doing in the show. And also their wings, which were a little harder to do, but I just blocked them in, kind of shaded them normally, and then used this like wave pattern brush, not a wave pattern, but it's like a brush that creates like this ripple effect you'll often see in water on their wings. I've been using this brush a lot. It's very helpful. But figuring out how to render their eyes was super interesting because since it has been years since I've drawn anything Steven Universe related, and Steven Universe eyes are very simple, I wasn't sure how to go about it, but I believe I just didn't add in the pupils, but kept in the rest of the things that I do when I render. And they're even manipulating a little bit of water in their hand, which is the light source in this case. Yeah, this one was really fun to do. I enjoyed being able to draw something Steven Universe related after many years of not doing that, unless you count me redrawing my Steven Universe or redesigning my Steven Universe characters into my own thing. I don't know if you would though. The next one I did was Levi, who is an Incubus character and belongs to a God Cat or G0D Cat, whichever way you would like to pronounce that. I thought this design was really cool, so I really wanted to draw it. This one also ended up being a very monochromatic piece and very blue again. I don't know how that happened, but it did. This one was fairly simple to draw. I just drew him in a sort of sitting/standing pose, and I didn't have much of an idea for a background, so I created it in a similar fashion I had done in the last year for my backgrounds. I kept them all like themed, like in the same theme as one another. I actually did that with the character, like how I drew the characters too, keeping it in a theme. I didn't do that this year because I wanted to experiment more with the backgrounds and do something more unique for each one, but I did go back to that for this one just because I wasn't sure what else to do. I like the skin patterns on this character's design. That was fun to add in. I don't know why, it kind of reminds me of a cow a little bit, little bit, but that's fun. And I kept forgetting to add in his wings several times, but I did draw them in, and they have a little bit of an inner glow in them, which is where I would imagine the light source in this picture to be coming from. Doesn't make sense, but I don't care. I like how it looks. And yeah, for their earring, I just drew it on one layer and just one. I didn't even bother doing the blocking in method for the earring. I just kept it as it was. Yeah, not much to say for this one. Like I said, I really like the design. I like how he's dressed in priest clothing, but he's an incubus. I thought that was fun. Yeah, this one was fun. This next one is Lily by N.U.6. Again, I'm not saying any of these right, and I know it. This one was, all in the description was that she was a crazy vampire maid, and I like crazy vampires, so of course I had to draw her. Drew her in a crazy-ish pose for this one, and I do have her like licking her fang as if there was supposed to be blood there. I forgot to add the blood there. Whoops. Well, that's fine. I don't know if I would have had to filter it if I did add blood anyway, but that's okay. Yeah, this one was also really fun to do. I distinctly remember watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer while drawing this, which I thought was very fitting. Yeah, for the eyes, I rendered them super simply because they're so very small because she's crazy. But yeah, and for the lighting source on this one, I decided to have it be like straight across like a hard line straight across the face. So I did that by putting a multiply layer over everything and using the shift tool to make my line straight as I erased that part across her face. And for the background, I added a line of red to match with that, and even like a little halo effect with one of the speed line tools in Clip Studio Paint. And yeah, this one was fun to do as well. Background was pretty simple, but the character drawing themselves was really fun. Next up was this one. The name of this character is Aladon, and he belongs to Crescent. So this was the revenge I did for the artwork of them. And fun story about Crescent is that I've actually drawn one of their characters before. One of my I think the first ever Arfight attack I ever did was one of their characters. And I didn't realize that until I looked through their characters and saw that one of them looked what was the same character that I drew. So I thought that was really funny that all ended up happening. But yeah, they have a lot of really cool characters, so it's hard to pick, but I chose this one based on his description and vibes. I like the vibes a lot. I was getting a bit burnt out at this point drawing a lot of characters for Arfight, so I just I did this one super simply. I focused a lot on the sketch and the line art, but then kept the shading very minimal and the background pretty simple as well. The character does have quite a few details, but I might have left out some of that in order to save my hand and used some decoration brushes for the patterns on his shirt. Yeah, the design of this character was really fun to draw. I was just feeling a little bit tired of drawing a lot the past few days at this point. Yeah, I specifically really wanted to focus on the spell that he's casting in one of the reference pictures. I pretty much just copied how it was in that picture using some tricks and effects to make it look right. But yeah, I don't have too much to say for this one. I had him sitting because I thought the pose I chose for him would look cool, and the creator commented that what was the comment? He commented, well done of giving him legs for days. And I thought, yeah, part of the reason why I chose him in the first place. But yeah, this the eye I did fully render because they're eyes, and I like rendering eyes a lot. And for the background, I just used material that I had downloaded from the Clip Studio Asset Store a while ago, and made some like curtains, just for flavor. And yeah, there's not much else to say about this one, except for that the character looks really neat. And I do wish I was able to render them a bit more, maybe make the piece even more moodier. But I wanted to stick to just 1 hour at least, and my hand was getting tired, so yeah. Next character's name is Lilac and belongs to Rosemary _ Knights 6666. 4 times. At this point, I was feeling a lot better, not as burnt out anymore, but I did really want to try and do something different with this one. There wasn't any info on this character. I don't think they had a description, and I think they only had one artwork or one picture for reference. So I thought, hey, let's do something fun with this one and do a lineless style. Now, I don't typically do lineless a whole lot because I like line art a lot. I'm one of those crazy artists who actually really like line art and have a hard time going with a more painterly style. But I thought it would look better here because of basically because of the color scheme. I don't know why, but when I saw the color scheme, I thought it would look really nice for a lineless style. So that's what I did. It's also interesting that I have one attack I did whose character's name was Lilac, and then the other one was Lily. I kept kind of mixing them up, but yeah, this one was fun to do, except instead of going to the line art, I went straight to the color, and I basically separated each section accordingly. So the hair had like a ponytail with a braid in the back, so I separated that from the front part of the hair, and the skin was separated from the shirt, but the shirt was also separated in different parts. It's very similar to how like VTubers or people who make stuff for Live 2D will cut their models in order to make it easier to rig. I even thought about maybe potentially doing that with this one, like doing a little tweeting, but that I knew that would be too much, so I just kept it as an illustration. Yeah, the hardest part was like figuring out which sections should be separated into which ones can I have in one layer, and what do I need to be separated into another. Once I was able to get that figured out, the rest of the rendering went really smoothly. I basically just rendered it how I normally do. I think I did forego like the normal like textured airbrush multiply layer that I usually do in order to make it look a little more cleaner. But yeah, and then the eyes were fun to do. They have like, the character had like a little heart in their eyes, so I drew that there. They also have a knife, which makes me think they might be a little less sweet than what they might appear as. I think even the reference picture, they had a skull. But yeah, this one was fun to do, fun to experiment with a slightly different style. And for the background, I used some pattern brushes. Well, I used green tones for the background, and for the foreground, for a little frame effect, I used a pattern that I don't use that often. It's like little pixel hearts. I download so many brushes and I need to use them more, but I don't because I forget that I have them. But I do have them and I need to use them more. I even have them all organized well. Like I have all my pattern brushes in one place. I made like my nature brushes, flower brushes. Yeah, I need to use those more. This next character is On Scythe by Clockwork. This is another revenge that I did for their artwork. Yeah, this one was really interesting because Clockwork also had a lot of cool characters, but I noticed that they had a dragon character. And I Okay, so I've been needing to draw dragons more. That was one of my resolutions for this year, was to draw more dragons and get better at that. And I've been terrible at that. And so I knew that this was the perfect opportunity for me to actually do that. And not only was it a dragon, it was a cyber dragon. It was like an android dragon pet. I thought that was super neat. So of course I had to draw them. It was a bit of a struggle with the sketch at first. I'm not super familiar with dragon anatomy, but once I was able to get that, the rest was super easy. For the line art, I did do a slightly different thing, or I just used a different brush for the line art. It's the same thicker line art brush that I used for Zane's piece that I actually posted last Wednesday. And I had the fun idea that there would be like a butterfly in this piece, and later on I actually had that butterfly be yellow in order to be complementary with the cyan that's going on everywhere, because at this point all my Arfight pieces had been like very monochromatic. And I had been just choosing like the same colors for the rendering as the characters, and I was getting a little tired of that, so I did something slightly different here, having the lighting be a different color to the main character themselves. And yeah, the hardest thing was when I got to the rendering of the character themselves. I realized I had never fully rendered a dragon in my art style before. But it went pretty okay. The biggest change that I made was I used one of my textured brushes, to paint around these scales to get those a little more texture, and then everything else went fine. Used a normal layer for cell shading, a painterly layer, and then like a airbrush layer. I didn't do a textured airbrush layer. Sometimes I'll forgo that depending on what I'm drawing, since this character is like a cyberpunk dragon. I thought going with just an airbrush would make it have that more solid, untextured look that you would typically see in like unnatural characters, or characters made of unnatural things. And yeah, this was super good practice for me as far as dragon anatomy. I even like looked up pictures of like dragons sitting and cats sitting, because dragons have a lot of similarities with sometimes they'll have a lot of similarities with cats. So I looked up that. I still like have a little bit of issue with how I drew the legs, especially, but it's a start. It's a start as far as getting better at this whole dragon drawing thing. I like dragons a lot, and I like this dragon a lot. They were very cool. Very, very nice. I liked it. This next character's name is Virgil, aka the Boogeyman, and belongs to Chester TCJ7. This was the artwork they did the revenge for, and this one ended up being very simple because I was getting burnt out again, and I wanted to do another simpler piece. But I also really wanted to draw this character because he looks so neat. He's just like a classy villain character, and the name Virgil and the Boogeyman, like, come on, I had to draw him. I had to. Drawing him in my style went pretty well. I focused more on the line art, since I was going to keep the rendering super minimal, like cell shading for the shadows and highlights, and then like a overlay layer for the painterly stuff, and that was it. And I am glad that I went simpler here, because I do like how it looks with a more simpler style. It kind of gives him more of like a comic book look, and I feel like he very much like feels like a comic book character, like one you would see in a webcomic. He might actually be in a webcomic. If I find that out, I'll put the link to the creator's webcomic here if they have one. But yeah, I even rendered his eyes super simply, and I just rendered them in like my normal comic style, which I don't normally do for pieces like this, but again, I was getting really tired. But I did wanted to include the little shadow guy that was in one of the reference pictures here, because that is part of his powers, is able to manipulate shadows, which I always love a shadow manipulator. I have a shadow manipulator character. I don't have a proper rough sheet for her yet, but maybe I will one day. But yeah, that one was super easy to do because I just copied and pasted the sketch of Virgil himself behind him, and then just silhouetted it with black, and added in the glowy eyes and erased the part where the mouth was. He looks a little bit silly, but I, you know, a little shadow guy. There's a little shadow guy behind him. And then for the background, again, I used more brushes that I really should use more, specifically like this cool triangular screen tone brush. I really like this brush. I want to use it more for my artworks. I want to use more of my pattern brushes for my artworks. And yeah, again, unfortunately, there's not too much to say with this one because I kept it super simple. But I do really like this character and this character design. Love a classic villain, classic little silly villain. That's always super fun. So this final one that I had actually posted right before Arfight was ending ended up being my most complex one. This character is called Sunshine and belongs to Wiki, I believe that's how you say that. And they are super cool, and they're a Honkai Star Rail character. I have been really into Honkai Star Rail. This was, and I had an idea of making a splash art for this character. So yeah, this one ended up being the most complex one. Took me 3 hours exactly to draw. I even recorded the sketch for this one and whatever I did it with the other ones. But yeah, this character, I really like this character design, and I like Star Rail a lot, and I thought, hey, let's make a splash art. And I've been wanting to practice doing splash art style artworks anyway, so this was a good chance for that. This character is a Foxian, and in the description, it said that they are kind of like a drug dealer almost type character, and I thought that was really cool. They even went into explanation of how their powers would work. They're a nihility type character, using like drugs and stuff to weaken their enemies. I thought that was super neat, so I wanted to showcase them, kind of what I thought their powers would maybe look like in the actual game. And I took inspiration from one of the reference pictures, and yeah, drawing the character themselves took a little bit because it is a bit detailed, which is, you know, it's a Star Rail fan character. Of course, it's going to be a lot detailed. I've made Star Rail fan characters and they're quite detailed, so I get it. And because they were a Foxian, of course I could not forget their fluffy tail and their little ears. Their ears and tail remind me of how Yae Miko looks in Genshin Impact, but a lot fluffier, a lot like curlier and fluffier. I like that a lot. And their outfit was super fun to draw. I love the color scheme. I love the purple and gold and pink. That is a lovely color scheme. Love that. And yeah, for the rendering, I had it so that the light source would be coming from the swirly smoke that would be surrounding them, and a pond that they would be sitting on that's kind of got reflective water going on. One more water drawing, why not? I actually kept the rendering of the background super simple. The composition was going to be like some trees around a pond with like some little cherry blossoms in there, and a little bit of grass surrounding it. It's actually a super the background actually was super simple to do, but because of how I rendered it, it makes it look more like detailed than it actually is. Not much to say for the rendering, even though it was like the most fully rendered piece out of all of these. I went full ham. I went the full process here. And I even used a lot of like particle brushes for not only their freckles, because they have a lot of freckles, but also some details within their outfit as well. And yeah, overall this was just really fun to render and draw. I was having a really fun time with this one, getting to make a splash art for a Star Rail character. Towards the end, of course, I also added a bunch of smoke effects. I used like an orangish yellow to match the overall color scheme, and I even added some more around them that's like a little more subtle. In the actual game, when you use a character's ultimate, their splash art will appear for a split second, and so I would imagine this would have the same effect, like this artwork would like splash up at when they like do their ultimate. So yeah, this again was the most complex piece out of all of them, and I really loved working on it, and I think it was a great artwork to end this year of Arfight. And yeah, although I will say the file kept getting too big to upload. Now, I had faced this problem with some of my other artworks, but in that case I was able to just convert it to a JPEG instead, since JPEGs are frequently more smaller than PNGs, and that was fine. But for this one, I literally had to shrink the artwork down and then turn it into a JPEG in order for it to upload onto this site. I guess the more stuff you do to an artwork, the bigger it's gonna get, even if you convert it to a JPEG instead of a PNG. But oh well, that's okay. I'm not salty. You're salty. Yeah, that's all that I did for Arfight this year. I say that's all as if that wasn't a lot. I did 9 pieces. Oh my god. And it's like I said, it was the most attacks that I've done this year. It was also the year that I got the most attacks towards me too. And again, thank you for everyone who drew my characters. They look so cool. I love seeing how different people interpret my characters and how they decide to draw them. So yeah, this was super fun. I hope next year will be as fun. Maybe it'll change some of the problems people have brought up about Arfight. Finally, I still find it funny that these problems have actually been a thing for a while, but they're just now getting brought up because Arfight's getting more popular. But yeah, I hope you have had a good Arfight too. If you joined in. My normal stuff is in the description below. My Kickstarter for my comic is still going on. You can pre-order my comic there if you would like. And yeah, I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!